Some cars packed serious power without flashy designs. These unknown sleeper cars blended in with ordinary vehicles, but under the surface, they were built to surprise anyone who dared to challenge them. Here are 15 unknown sleeper cars out of the 1960s. Number 15, 1969, Chevrolet Kingswood 427 wagon. Most station wagons in the 1960s were built for hauling families and luggage, not for speed. But the 1969 Chevrolet Kingswood 427 wagon was different. It looked like a regular family car, yet it packed a 427 cubic inch V8, making it one of the rarest and most unexpected performance cars of its time. Chevrolet built almost 150,000 Kingswood wagons, but very few came with this massive engine. Today, finding one is nearly impossible, especially in perfect condition. This Kingswood was originally sold in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and it has never left the province. In 2017, it was fully rebuilt from top to bottom, and in 2018, it found a new owner who kept it in pristine condition. Since its restoration, it has only been driven 68 miles, making it feel just as fresh as it did when it rolled out of the dealership in 1969. Every detail works exactly as it should, preserving its original charm. Based on the Chevrolet Caprice, the Kingswood was a top-level station wagon with a luxury feel. This one came in butternut yellow, with classic wood grain paneling and chrome trim, giving it a stylish yet understated look. It even had a two-way tailgate, which could either swing open like a door or fold down like a truck bed. Roof luggage racks, factory-tinted glass, and a long, low stance made it a true road trip machine. Inside, the black vinyl interior was just as impressive. The wood grain accented dashboard and door panels gave it an upscale feel. It had head restraints, a push-button AM radio with a rear speaker and full floor mats. A two-spoke steering wheel matched the wood grain theme, while the dashboard included a 120 miles per hour speedometer, fuel gauge, and digital clock. The third-row rear-facing seat made it possible to carry 9 passengers, and when folded flat, the cargo space became massive. What truly made this Kingswood special was its 427 cubic inch turbojet V8. With a 4-barrel carburetor, it was rated at 335 horsepower. Power was sent to the rear wheels through a 3-speed turbo hydromatic automatic transmission. The engine was completely rebuilt, ensuring it was just as strong as when it first hit the streets. The 1969 Chevrolet Kingswood 427 wagon was a muscle car in disguise, hiding serious power beneath its family-friendly look. Rare, powerful, and nearly forgotten, it remains one of Chevrolet's most overlooked performance cars. Number 14, 1963, Mercury Meteor S33. The 1963 Mercury Meteor S33 is a car very few people remember. It was a rare mid-size coupe that never got the attention it deserved. Mercury introduced the Meteor line to fit between the compact Comet and the full-size Monterey, but the idea never really took off. Sales were low, and by the end of 1963, the Meteor name was gone forever. Not only this, only 4,865 units of the S33 hardtop coupe were built, making it one of the rarest models in the Meteor lineup. It had a longer wheelbase than the Ford Fairlane, but it still struggled to find buyers. Even though it had sporty styling, it was never considered a true performance car. The S33 trim was the top version of the Meteor. It featured bucket seats, a vinyl interior, and a center console, which gave it a more premium feel. On the outside, it had 3 chrome bars on the front fenders, special badges on the rear quarter panels, and unique rear fender insignia. The 2-door hardtop body gave it a classic Mercury look, but it remained in the shadow of more popular models. However, the standard engine was a 170 cubic inch 6-cylinder, which was not exciting. Optional upgrades included the 221 cubic inch V8 with 145 horsepower and the 260 cubic inch V8 with 164 horsepower. Transmission choices included a 3-speed manual, a 4-speed manual, or the Merc-O-Matic automatic. The Meteor S33 was overshadowed by stronger competitors. It had a stylish design, decent performance, and a comfortable interior, but it never gained fame. Today, it remains a forgotten gem, a mid-size coupe that quietly disappeared from history. If you enjoy unknown sleeper cars from the 1960s, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more classic car stories. Number 13, 1966, Studebaker Daytona Sports Sedan. Some cars are forgotten because they were not special, but the 1966 Studebaker Daytona Sports Sedan is different. This was one of the last cars ever built by Studebaker, a company with more than 100 years of history. By this time, Studebaker was barely surviving, and only 2,929 of these sedans were ever produced. That makes it one of the rarest American cars from the era, a true hidden piece of automotive history. Studebaker gave the Daytona Sports Sedan a simple yet bold design. It had a long front end and a short rear, giving it a sporty look that stood out on the road. The grille had a clean, strong shape, and the Studebaker badge sat proudly in the center. Buyers had stylish color options, including sky blue and Laguna blue, making it one of the most eye-catching cars of its time. Inside, the vinyl and fabric seats were built for both comfort and durability. The dashboard was practical and well-organized, making driving easy and enjoyable. Everything in this car was designed to last, a reflection of Studebaker's long history of strong craftsmanship. Even though the company was struggling, Studebaker did not cut corners when it came to features. The Daytona Sports Sedan had front disc brakes, which was rare in 1966 when most cars still had drum brakes. This made stopping safer and more controlled, especially at high speeds or on rough roads. The suspension was well-tuned, making the car feel stable and smooth, even on sharp turns. Powering this rare sedan was a 283 cubic inch 8-cylinder engine, the same type found in some Chevrolet models. It had enough strength to push the car from 0 to 60 miles per hour in about 10 seconds. The top speed was around 120 miles per hour, making it faster than most family cars of the time. The deep, rich engine sound made every drive exciting, something drivers loved. But even with all these great features, the Daytona Sports Sedan had one major problem. Studebaker was on the verge of shutting down. The company had already stopped making cars in the United States and was only producing them in Canada. Many buyers avoided Studebaker because they feared the company would not last. In March 1966, Studebaker closed forever, and the Daytona Sports Sedan became part of history. Today, finding a 1966 Studebaker Daytona Sports Sedan is nearly impossible. Prices range from $10,000 for one in poor condition to over $30,000 for a fully restored model. Over time, car collectors have started to recognize its importance, and it has become a rare gem from a company that once ruled the roads. Studebaker is gone, but the Daytona Sports Sedan keeps its legacy alive, a forgotten classic that deserves more recognition. Number 12, 1967, Chevrolet Biscayne 427. The 1967 Chevrolet Biscayne 427 is one of those cars almost nobody knows about, but real muscle car fans admire. It was a powerful machine hiding in plain sight, a simple two-door sedan that packed unbelievable strength. Chevrolet never made a big deal about it. No flashy ads, no showroom spotlight, but this car had something special. It came with a 427 cubic inch V8 engine built for power. A 3-speed manual transmission sent that power straight to the wheels. It could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 6.1 seconds and complete a quarter mile in 14.6 seconds. But on the outside, it looked just like a regular family car. The Biscayne name had been around since 1958, made for people who wanted a big car without paying extra for luxury. It was cheaper than the Impala or Bel Air, but Chevrolet had a secret option. Buyers could order it with any engine, including the massive 427 V8. That changed everything. It meant someone could buy an average-looking car that had the heart of a race car. Unlike the Impala, which was full of shiny chrome, the Biscayne was all about keeping things simple. The outside had almost no chrome. The hubcaps were tiny. The inside was basic. No fancy power windows, no plush carpets. Just a plain steering wheel and simple seats. But for those who wanted raw power, none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was that 427 V8 was roaring to life, pushing the car forward with serious force. By the late 1960s, most Biscaynes came with small engines built for taxis, police cars, or budget-conscious buyers. But a few smart people knew the trick. They ordered the Biscayne with Chevrolet's most powerful big-block engine. That made the 1967 Biscayne 427 one of the rarest muscle cars ever. By 1970, power steering and brakes became standard, but the Biscayne never got the luxury features of other Chevys. It was always the underdog. By 1972, Chevrolet stopped making it in the United States, but Canada kept it alive until 1975. Today, the Biscayne 427 is a hidden legend. It never got the fame of the Camaro or Corvette, but those who own one know its secret. It looks ordinary, but drives like a monster. Number 11, 1963. Pontiac Tempest Le Mans, 326. The 1963 Pontiac Tempest Le Mans 326 is a forgotten piece of Pontiac's history. While cars like the GTO and Firebird became legends, this one quietly held its own. It was a solid performer, packed with real power. But today, it is almost unknown. Back in its time, however, it was one of Pontiac's most important models, bridging the gap between compact cars and full-blown muscle machines. That year, Pontiac made big changes to the Tempest. It grew in size and weight, moving away from its earlier compact form. The suspension and transaxle system were redesigned for better handling and a smoother ride. But the biggest upgrade was the engine. Pontiac finally gave the Le Mans a real V8. And it was not just any V8, it was the 326 cubic inch engine, producing 260 horsepower and 314 pound-feet of torque. This was a massive improvement from the weak four-cylinder and small V8 engines of previous years. Surprisingly, this engine was not really 326 cubic inches. It was actually 336 cubic inches, but Pontiac labeled it smaller to get around General Motors' rule that compact cars could not have bigger engines than the Chevrolet Corvette's 327 cubic inch V8. It was a clever trick, but by 1964, Pontiac changed the engine to actually match the 326 cubic inch name. That made the 1963 version a rare, one-year-only engine. Most Le Mans models came with a 3-speed manual transmission, while some were ordered with an automatic transmission built to handle the extra power. A 4-speed manual transmission was also available, but very few buyers chose it with the V8 option. Even with the strong engine, the Le Mans was not yet a full muscle car. That transformation would happen later with the GTO. Well, Pontiac made sure the 1963 Le Mans had more than just power. The new body style gave it a wider stance, making it look more aggressive, while the improved handling made it more stable on the road. It was built for both speed and comfort, offering a smooth ride that felt modern for its time. The 1963 Pontiac Tempest Le Mans 326 was an important step in Pontiac's performance history. It had the right mix of power and style, but today almost no one talks about it. It was not the star of the muscle car era, but it helped set the stage for what came next. Number 10, 1962, Pontiac Catalina Super Duty. The 1962 Pontiac Catalina Super Duty is one of the most overlooked performance cars of its time. Built for pure speed, it was a race-ready machine that very few people got their hands on. Pontiac made sure this was not an ordinary Catalina. It was a lightweight powerhouse that was designed to dominate the drag strip. At the heart of this beast was the 421 cubic inch Super Duty V8, a stronger version of the 389 Super Duty. This engine was not factory installed at first. Instead, it was sent separately to factory-backed racers, who put them in their cars after delivery. But racing rules changed, forcing manufacturers to offer factory-installed engines. So Pontiac made the Super Duty 421 available as a regular option in the Catalina and Grand Prix. This high-performance engine had a 4-bolt block, a forged steel crankshaft, and forged aluminum pistons. It used forged steel connecting rods and a McKellar mechanical camshaft with 308 and 320 degrees of duration. The compression ratio was 11:1, and by mid-year, Pontiac upgraded the valves to a larger size for better airflow. Fuel delivery came from 2 Carter 4-barrel carburetors, mounted on a cast aluminum intake manifold. Special cast iron exhaust manifolds had bolt-on collectors that allowed racers to bypass the dual exhaust system for maximum power. Pontiac officially rated this engine at 405 horsepower at 5,600 revolutions per minute and 425 pound-feet of torque at 4,400 revolutions per minute, though it was likely much stronger. Only 155 Catalina models and 16 Grand Prix models were built with this engine. Some had aluminum body panels, cutting nearly 200 pounds to make them even faster. Today, this rare street machine remains a hidden legend, built for speed but forgotten by many. Number 9, 1965, Rambler Marlin 327 V8. The The 1965 Rambler Marlin was American Motors' bold attempt to step into the world of fastbacks and performance cars. It was a big change from the company's usual focus on small, practical vehicles. But despite all the effort, the Marlin remained an unknown sleeper, overshadowed by the competition. The idea for the Marlin started with the AMC Tarpon, a compact fastback based on the Rambler American. However, AMC's president, Roy Abernethy, had different plans. He wanted bigger, more powerful cars that could go against the big three automakers. So, instead of keeping the Tarpon small, AMC used the larger Rambler Classic platform, creating a fastback with more space, more comfort, and a bigger engine. The Marlin officially debuted on the 10th of February 1965 with a big advertising push. It was promoted in 2,400 newspapers, and every dealership received at least 1 or 2 units to draw in customers. The goal was clear: to get attention and change AMC's image. The company called its lineup the Sensible Spectaculars, mixing practicality with excitement. The Marlin came standard with a 6-cylinder engine, but the real sleeper was the 327 cubic inch V8. It made the Marlin far more powerful, yet it still flew under the radar, unlike the Ford Mustang or Plymouth Barracuda, which were smaller and marketed as pure sports cars. The Marlin aimed at buyers who wanted performance without sacrificing comfort. Despite its strong effort, AMC only built 10,327 Marlins in 1965. Within a year, the Dodge Charger arrived, and soon after, the Mercury Cougar. The Marlin's moment was short-lived, but it remains a hidden gem, a car that had the power, but never got the spotlight. Number 8, 1965, Dodge Coronet 426, Street Wedge. The 1965 Dodge Coronet 426 Street Wedge is one of the most overlooked muscle cars ever made. While Dodge was making headlines with the race-ready 426 cubic inch Hemi, this car stayed in the background. Not many people ordered it, and today, finding one is nearly impossible. It had all the right ingredients for a street racer, but most buyers ignored it. Dodge never made it the star of their lineup, and it got buried under the hype of high-performance drag cars. Moreover, the 1965 Coronet had just been redesigned and sat on a 117-inch wheelbase with a total length of 204 inches. It came in multiple versions, including the base model, the Coronet 440, and the premium Coronet 500. The 500 had bucket seats and a center console. But the real secret was that the 426 Street Wedge engine could be ordered in hardtop and convertible models. This was not the famous HEMI engine. The 426 cubic inch V8 was the Street Wedge, a street-friendly version of the Max Wedge. It had a single 4-barrel Carter carburetor, smaller ports, a milder camshaft, and regular exhaust manifolds. But even with these changes, it was still a serious machine. It produced 365 horsepower and 470 pound-feet of torque, making it one of the strongest engines available in midsize cars at the time. Both Dodge and Plymouth offered the 426 Street Wedge in 1964 and 1965, but it was always ignored in favor of the race-ready Hemi. Buyers wanted extreme drag cars, and Chrysler was more focused on promoting race victories than their street cars. Because of this, the Street Wedge never got the attention it deserved. Beyond this, the Street Wedge Coronet had everything needed for serious performance. It came with a heavy-duty suspension, a strong 4-speed manual transmission, and police-grade drum brakes. Car magazines at the time praised it. Motor Trend even called it one of the most exciting cars of 1965, but it had no flashy badges or aggressive styling. It looked like an average Dodge. Today, the 1965 Dodge Coronet 426 Street Wedge is nearly forgotten. Few were built, and even fewer survived in original condition. It never became a legend like the Hemi cars, but those who know about it understand its true power. It was a muscle car hiding in plain sight. Number 7, 1966, Ford Fairlane 500 R-Code. The 1966 Ford Fairlane 500 R-Code is a muscle car few people talk about, but it has the power to shock anyone. While other Fords like the Mustang or Galaxy often get the attention, this Fairlane hides something special. A tunnel port 427 cubic inch V8, one of the rarest and most powerful engines Ford ever built. This car was made for one thing: speed. It was built to dominate on the drag strip, but over the years, it faded into the background. Unlike flashy muscle cars, the Fairlane 500 R code looks simple and unassuming, but behind that plain appearance is a machine capable of running 11-second quarter miles. The tunnel port 427 cubic inch big block is no ordinary engine. It was designed for high performance, featuring cast iron heads and a cast crankshaft. On an engine dyno, this Fairlane still puts out over 500 horsepower, even with mostly original parts. But keeping this rare engine running is not easy. During a recent race, a rocker's arm broke, and finding replacements is a challenge, because so few of these engines were ever made. Most people do not know how valuable this car really is. The engine alone is worth $18,000, possibly more than the car itself, as many Fairlanes sell for around $10,000. Originally painted aqua on aqua, it was later repainted in Mexico for under $1,000, keeping it low-key. This Fairlane 500 R code is the definition of a sleeper, hidden in plain sight, overlooked by many, but built to surprise anyone who underestimates it. Number 6, 1968 Mercury Monterey 428 Police Interceptor. The 1968 Mercury Monterey 428 Police Interceptor was a highway machine that almost nobody remembers. While cars like the Dodge Charger and Ford Mustang were making headlines, this massive Mercury was quietly patrolling the roads. Built for the Missouri State Highway Patrol, it was made to chase down the fastest speeders. Yet today, it remains one of the most forgotten police cars ever made. On top of that, Ford built 37,379 Monterey cars in 1968, but only a small number had the 428 cubic inch V8 engine for police use. This was Mercury's most powerful engine that year, producing 340 horsepower. It was built for long highway chases, high-speed durability, and the strength needed for law enforcement work. Most full-sized Mercury Monterey cars came with a 390 cubic inch V8, making 265 horsepower, with a manual transmission, or 280 horsepower, with an automatic transmission. But for police duty, that was not enough. The 428 V8 had more power and torque, making sure officers could keep up with anything on the road. Even though this engine was detuned compared to factory performance models, it was still more than capable of handling high-speed chases. Despite this, the Monterey Police Interceptor came with a 3-speed automatic transmission designed for smooth gear shifts at high speeds. It also had a heavy-duty suspension, reinforced cooling system, and strong drum brakes to handle the stress of highway patrol. While most full-sized Mercurys in 1968 had power steering, a tiny fraction, less than 1%, were built without it. That meant some officers had to steer this massive car using nothing but raw strength. The design of the 1968 Monterey followed Mercury's clean and simple styling, inspired by the Lincoln Continental. The front grille was wider, the parking lamps were larger, and the front fender vents were removed. Even though it had an upscale look, it was built for serious police work. It blended into traffic while having the speed and strength to chase down criminals. Mercury police cars were used by the Missouri Highway Patrol until the 1970s before newer models took over. Today, most of these cars are long gone, but a few exist in museums and as replicas. The 1968 Mercury Monterey 428 Police Interceptor may not be famous, but for a time, it ruled the highways. Number 5, 1961 Chrysler 300G. The 1961 Chrysler 300G was a rare mix of performance and luxury, often overlooked in the muscle car world. While others focused on smaller, lighter cars, this full-size Chrysler hid serious power beneath its refined appearance. It was fast, but few knew just how capable it really was. At first glance, the 300G looked like a high-end luxury car. It had a long body, towering tail fins, and a slanted 4-headlight grille. But behind the elegant design was an engine built for raw speed. Chrysler gave it a 413 cubic inch wedge V8 with cross-ram induction and dual Carter 4-barrel carburetors. This setup pushed the car to 400 horsepower with a massive 495 foot-pounds of torque at 3,600 revolutions per minute. The Torque Flight automatic transmission used a push-button selector, adding a futuristic touch. Inside, the 4-bucket seat layout separated it from other big cars of the time. The swivel front seats and rear bucket seats with a full-length console made it feel like a personal jet. Features like power windows, factory air conditioning, and a Golden Touch tuner radio added to its luxurious appeal. Despite its high performance, the 300G never got the muscle car recognition it deserved. It was nicknamed the Banker's Hot Rod because it blended speed with comfort. Sales remained low, with only 1,280 hardtops and 337 convertibles built. This was also the last Chrysler with big fins, marking the end of an era. The following year, Chrysler moved to less expensive, non-letter 300 models. But for those who knew, the 300G was a true sleeper, hiding incredible power beneath its elegant design. Number 4, 1960 Pontiac Ventura 389 Tri-Power. The 1960 Pontiac Ventura 389 Tri-Power was a true performer that few recognized for its power. While other cars were covered in chrome and fins, this Pontiac was built for serious speed. It had the looks of a full-size car, but carried a 389 cubic inch V8 engine with 3 carburetors, pushing out 348 horsepower. Pontiac gave the Ventura an 8-lug wheel design with built-in aluminum brake drums, improving stopping power and handling. The 4-speed manual transmission made sure the driver had full control, while the wide-track suspension gave it a planted stance. Unlike other cars of its time that looked fast but felt heavy, this one actually handled its power well. The design was simple yet bold. The bubble-top roofline gave it a modern touch, while the clean body lines set it apart from the flashy designs of the previous decade. It was the most refined of General Motors' full-size cars, balancing performance and style. Despite its power and engineering, the Ventura 389 Tri-Power never got the same recognition as Pontiac's later muscle cars. It was overshadowed by the GTO and others that followed. But for those who knew, this full-size machine was a hidden powerhouse, proving that not all muscle cars had to look the part to perform. Number 3, 1962 Galaxie 500 XL 406. The 1962 Ford Galaxie 500 XL 406 was built for serious performance, but it never got the recognition it deserved. Ford created this machine to compete with the Chevrolet Impala SS, Dodge's muscle cars, and Pontiac's high-performance machines, but it always stayed in the background. Despite its powerful engine and solid design, most buyers overlooked it, making it one of the most forgotten muscle cars of its time. Ford was struggling to keep up in the muscle car wars and needed something big. This was the first time they put a V8 engine larger than 400 cubic inches in a production car. They built just 1,378 Galaxies with the 406 cubic inch V8, making it rare even when new. But it never became a headline car, and today, very few people know about it. The 406 V8 came in 2 versions. The first had a single 4-barrel Holley carburetor, producing 385 horsepower and 440 pound-feet of torque. The second version, called Super High Performance Tri-Power, had 3 2-barrel Holley carburetors, pushing out 405 horsepower. Both versions had a compression ratio of 11.4 to 1, cast iron headers, and dual exhausts for better airflow. To handle this power, Ford gave the Galaxie the right parts. It came with a 4-speed Borg-Warner manual transmission, heavy-duty suspension, stronger drum brakes, a larger radiator, and 15-inch wheels instead of the usual 14-inch ones. Buyers could also choose different axle ratios, with the steepest being 4.11 to 1, making it perfect for fast acceleration. Performance was impressive. The Galaxie 500 XL 406 could go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 7.1 seconds, and the Tri-Power version was even quicker by about half a second. It completed the quarter mile in the mid-15-second range, proving it was a real muscle car. But there was a problem: weight. The Galaxie was heavier than its rivals, making it harder to win on the drag strip against lighter Dodges, Plymouths, and Chevrolets. To fix this, Ford built a few lighter competition versions, replacing steel parts with aluminum bumpers and fiberglass panels. But even then, it struggled to dominate the track. On the streets, however, it was a different story. Without noticing the gold 406 badge on the fender, most people never saw it coming. Motor Trend even called it Ferrari performance at a fifth of the price. The 1962 Ford Galaxie 500 XL 406 never became a superstar, but it was an important part of Ford's muscle car history. A powerful machine that few remember, but those who do know its true potential. Number 2, 1964 Buick Skylark Grand Sport. Some cars never get the credit they deserve, and the 1964 Buick Skylark Grand Sport is one of them. While Pontiac, Chevrolet, and Oldsmobile grabbed the spotlight, Buick quietly built a muscle car that could take them all on. This was Buick's first real attempt at putting serious power into a midsize car, yet it remains one of the most overlooked muscle cars from the era. Buick produced 69,367 Skylark Grand Sport models that year, including 10,456 convertibles. It was offered in hardtop coupe, thin pillar coupe, and convertible styles, sharing its size and structure with the Chevrolet Chevelle, Pontiac Tempest, and Oldsmobile F85. That made it a direct rival, even if many did not see it that way. From the outside, the Skylark Grand Sport had a clean but aggressive design. The red Grand Sport badges on the grille, trunk, and side panels made sure it stood out from the regular Skylark models. Its long, low body gave it a strong road presence, showing it meant business. But what really made this car special was its engine. Buick dropped in a 401 cubic inch 8-cylinder engine, famously known as the Nailhead V8. Even though it was technically labeled a 400, it was the largest engine available in a midsize car at the time. It packed 325 horsepower and an incredible 445 pound-feet of torque. To handle this power, Buick offered 3 different transmissions: a 3-speed manual, a close-ratio 4-speed manual, and a 2-speed automatic. It also came with heavy-duty suspension, a stiff stabilizer bar, and 775 by 14 tires, making it fast and stable on straight roads. Dual exhausts gave it a deep, powerful sound that let everyone know it was not just a regular Buick. Despite its strength, the Skylark Grand Sport never became a big name, like the Pontiac GTO or Oldsmobile 442. It had more torque than both, but it never got the same recognition. Today, it remains a hidden powerhouse, a muscle car that deserved more fame, but remains a secret to many. Number 1, 1968 AMC Rebel S ST 390. The 1968 AMC Rebel SST 390 was a powerful car that most people never saw coming. While other muscle cars grabbed attention, this mid-sized machine quietly packed serious performance. It was American Motors' answer to big-name competitors, but it never got the spotlight it deserved. Beyond this, the Rebel SST looked like a family car, but AMC gave it real muscle. It came with a 390 cubic inch V8 engine, producing 315 horsepower. This was the same engine used in the 2-seat AMX, proving AMC was serious about performance. The torque command automatic transmission and heavy-duty suspension gave it strong acceleration and smooth handling. The Rebel SST's design got a fresh look for 1968, featuring a restyled grille, new tail lamps, and lighted side markers. It also introduced flush-mounted paddle-style door handles, a feature that AMC would use for decades. The convertible version became the last open-top car AMC ever built, making it a rare find today. Inside, the Rebel SST had a 6-passenger layout with coiled spring seats, an optional power top with a glass rear window, and high-quality materials. Safety was a priority, with energy-absorbing steering columns, shoulder belts, and improved door locks. Despite its performance and features, the Rebel SST 390 was overshadowed by AMC's Javelin and AMX models. With only 73,895 units sold, it faded into history as an unknown sleeper car, even though it had everything needed to be a true muscle machine. Which of these unknown sleeper cars surprised you the most? Do you think modern cars still have hidden power like these classics? Let us know which sleeper car from the 1960s you would love to drive.